Help me reach 1,000 subscribes. Support the video with a like and leave your thoughts in the comments. I read every comment. Thanks. When my phone buzzed that Tuesday afternoon, I didn't expect my life to end in a single sentence. I was at my desk, spreadsheet open, half listening to the hum of the air conditioner. The message was from Emily. No emoji, no typo, just words, sharp and clean. I want a divorce. Please direct all future communication through my lawyer. That was it. 12 years of marriage reduced to 2 lines of text. I stared at the screen long enough for it to dim, then light up again. My name is Daniel. I'm 43. And that was the moment everything went quiet inside me. Emily and I didn't look like a couple heading for divorce. At least not from the outside. We had dinner together the night before. She asked if I could fix the loose cabinet door this weekend. We talked about a friend's upcoming wedding, joked about the bad music choices. Normal things. The kind of normal that makes you believe tomorrow will look like today. I'd learned long ago that relationships don't end in explosions. They end in silence you mistake for peace. I didn't reply right away. I set my phone face down and finished the report I was working on. It felt important to do that, to not let her message hijack my breathing. When I finally picked the phone back up, my reply was simple. Understood. No questions. No arguments. No pleading. I wasn't being dramatic. I was accepting the terms she'd set. Clarity does strange things to you. Once she said lawyers only, the emotional rules of marriage stopped applying. What remained were practical ones. Emily had never liked handling finances. I did that, not because I wanted control, but because she said stress her out. We kept separate checking accounts, but most of our shared life ran through mine. Her credit cards were authorized under my account. I logged into the bank app, canceled them, and marked her as no longer authorized. The monthly transfer I sent to her account for personal spending, I canceled that too. Shared subscriptions were in my name. I changed the passwords. It took maybe 20 minutes. I didn't feel angry. I felt methodical. I drove home after work, expecting a confrontation. Instead, the house was empty. Her coat was gone from the rack. The bathroom drawer she used was bare. She'd packed while I was at the office. I slept that night better than I had in months, which scared me more than if I hadn't slept at all. Peace shouldn't come that fast. It made me wonder how long I'd been holding my breath, without realizing it. 3 days later, my phone rang from an unfamiliar number. I knew who it was before I answered. The voice on the other end was sharp, professional, irritated. He introduced himself as Emily's lawyer. He said my actions were inappropriate, that I'd cut her off without warning, that the financial status quo was supposed to be maintained. I listened, didn't interrupt. When he finished, I said calmly that my wife had ended our marriage via text and demanded all communication go through legal channels. I had complied. Informal arrangements ended when trust ended. Any future support could be discussed between attorneys. There was a pause. Paper shuffling. He said she needed access to funds immediately. I repeated my lawyer's name and ended the call. Afterward, my hands shook, not from regret, but from the realization that this was real now. The line had been crossed, and there was no walking backward. That night, sitting alone in the living room, I replayed our last few years together. The distance I ignored, the conversations that never finished. I wondered when Emily decided to leave, and how long she'd rehearsed that text before sending it. What I knew for certain was this. She expected chaos, tears, bargaining. She didn't expect quiet compliance. And quiet, I was learning, can be terrifying when you're the one who walked away. The following morning, the house felt different, like the walls were breathing a sigh I couldn't hear before. I moved to the kitchen making coffee, noticing small things I hadn't paid attention to in years. The chip mug she loved, the sticky spot by the counter, the faint smell of her shampoo lingering in the hallway. Normally, these details made me smile or cringe. Now, they were reminders of absence. I had chosen not to fight. She had chosen not to stay. That simple exchange defined the rest of my day. Not anger, not despair, just cold, steady clarity. By mid-afternoon, My lawyer called. He'd filed for a temporary protective order on our accounts and the house lease, ensuring that the legal framework matched the reality she had set. The precision of it comforted me. It made the abstract pain tangible, manageable. No shouting, no threats, no tears. Just reality, broken down into steps, each one reinforcing that I was no longer a participant in a relationship that had ended without ceremony. Emily's lawyer called again later, demanding explanations and emergency funds. I referred him to my counsel. Each call left me more in control, more detached, more free. That evening, a friend stopped by, sensing the tension even without details. Jack was the kind of friend who could sit in silence and still make the air lighter. He didn't ask what had happened right away. We drank beer and spoke about work, about small frustrations that didn't matter, as if the world had paused elsewhere. I finally allowed myself to breathe fully, noticing for the first time in years that freedom didn't have to be loud or violent. It could be quiet and still powerful. The next day, Emily tried to reach out through a text, thinly veiled as concern. "Are you okay?" It read. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. My compliance wasn't weakness. It was acknowledgement of her choice. By that point, I understood that trying to win her back, or prove her wrong, would have been a trap she expected me to fall into. Instead, I focused on myself, on reclaiming space and energy she had long taken for granted. The quiet dignity of that choice became my shield. As the weeks passed, the house felt less empty and more mine. I fixed the leaky faucet, organized closets, started cooking meals that I enjoyed instead of the ones she preferred. I even started jogging in the mornings, feeling the sunlight on my face and the wind in my lungs, realizing how much I had ignored my own life. The separation wasn't just from her. It was from the inertia being trapped in someone else's version of reality. I had been living under her shadow, quiet and unnoticed, and now I was emerging. Then came the day of the first legal hearing. Sitting in the sterile courtroom, I listened as the lawyers presented their arguments. Emily's counsel painted her as entitled and in need, and I stayed quiet, letting my lawyer speak the facts. Shared finances, property arrangements, and her abandonment of the house. Every word reinforced the truth I had known but hadn't spoken aloud. The life we shared was not mutual anymore. The judge's gavel was final, but the real finality had already been established in that brief text months ago. That single message had started a chain reaction I could control only through calm, deliberate action. Months later, looking back, I realized the most significant moment wasn't the lawyer calls or the court proceedings. It was that first choice, not to panic, not to argue, not to beg. That quiet acknowledgement of reality was the act that allowed me to reclaim my life without destroying anyone else or myself. There was no dramatic scene of confrontation, no cinematic closure, just a steady unfolding of consequences. Emily had chosen her path. I had chosen mine. And in that choice lay a surprise and relief, even a sense of triumph. I had expected grief, maybe even rage. What I didn't expect was how peaceful I would feel once I stopped fighting what had already ended. I hadn't walked away angry or defeated. I had walked away informed, deliberate, free. And in the quiet of my new routine, I discovered that endings can be subtle yet transformative, that silence can be louder than shouting, and that understanding one's own value is the most shocking revelation of all. Sometimes, life doesn't end in fire and chaos. Sometimes it ends in 2 lines of text and a calm decision to simply walk away. And that, I realized, was enough.